It's now time for a featured review. And for that, we all went out and saw Infinity Pool.
Ooh,
That's beautiful.
wow.
Isn't that good?
Lots of purple.
Well done, Adam. Adam did a good job putting that graphic together for us. Yeah. So Todd, you're going to start out on this one. Tell us all about Infinity Pool and what you thought.
Well, I told you shouldn't have gone to see women talking after Infinity Pool.
I know.
That's why you said it
Oh,
was boring.
yeah.
Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
All right. Infinity Pool is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, and Adam and I were big fans of his last movie, Possessor. So I was kind of excited to see this. It follows a couple played by Alexander Skarsgard and Cleopatra Coleman. He's a struggling writer, and they go on vacation to this sinister resort called Latoka, and they're like strictly warned to stay on the premises. But after falling in with another couple played by Mia Goth and Jaleel Lespert, they venture off and get into some trouble when an accident happens, and they're faced with the just atrocities of this place and this weird cultish community. There's this thing like, if you commit a crime, then you're going to be executed, or you can pay to have your clone, have yourself cloned, and then they'll be executed. There's a lot of clone movies in the last few years, but this takes it in an interesting direction. It starts out in a way that's really kind of lulling you into the story, the way like all great horror movies do. Like it kind of reminded me of The Lost Daughter for like the first like 20 minutes. Like, it even kind of looked like it, but the beats of the music tell you it's gonna be something different, and it's good that the music actually does tell you what you're supposed to be thinking and feeling, because it gets pretty freaking far out there, and you don't really know what to think. Alexander Skarsgård is good. He's rarely ever the protagonist in a movie or like a relatable character that you're meant to follow, but he works in this. Mia Goth is playing right in her lane, though. She's insane. And I think their first awkward encounter is like a random hand job, and I'm pretty sure he's wearing cargo shorts, the first since Nam, it would appear.
Wow.
But
yes, I did not notice that. That is a brilliant observation.
I think they were cargo shorts. They looked like a
great poll.
Everything is so heightened in this movie and so drastic. You're really just kind of astonished and disgusted at the same time. Cronenberg clearly has learned a lot from his dad. Like, you may be thinking, when he makes something like this in the way he does, he's like out of control or something. But I don't know. I think like Winnie Peppercorn, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got this like Nicholas Winding Refn level control of the atmosphere, like making the surreal violence and images just look gorgeous. The cinematography is really good, and there's something irresistible about the grossness and perverseness and fetishes that he puts on screen in this. I think the mythology of this would have been a really interesting book, and I don't think I've ever made that criticism of a movie before. The movie's a lot. It's a lot of style. It's a lot of substance, but it's also a lot of nonsense. It's hard to look away, even when you kind of want to look away, because it's hard to actually keep your eyes on. I don't know if it's great or awful or like just admirable. I think it's kind of admirable. I really enjoyed it. I'm at like a high 3 stars, but I honestly could go any direction on this. It just depends on what mood you're in when you watch it.
All right, Zach, how about you?
Oh, come on. You can't ask me to go after that. That's like going to see women talking after that. No, I'll
Okay,
go after it. I'll go after
Okay.
it. Go ahead. You can take your nap, Terry. But I did not fall asleep during this movie. It would have been hard to fall asleep during this movie, I think. But yeah, I mostly disagree with pretty much everything Todd says, which is why I want to go next. I think this movie is ponderous. It is really, kind of like shoddily made. I don't think that the special effects in this movie are that interesting. When you have the pulsating, psychedelic orgy scene from Midnight Cowboy come on, and you get Mia Goth dancing naked, and then you get the movie even has a trigger warning about the epileptic seizures, and it's like, the movie it's almost as though Cronenberg is saying this movie isn't that interesting, so I have to infuse it with these scenes of crazy debauchery in order to wake people up. Even though, like I said, I guess it's an interesting enough premise. I don't know. I feel kind of disappointed. I think this movie does have an interesting idea that these people could enable themselves to be reborn to escape these crimes, and it has a kind of cool dystopian element to it. But the second half of this movie just feels so like shaggy. It's like there's no consequences to anything that the characters do. I totally lost interest in it because it was just, you just chalk it up to crazy shit. It's another one of these movies where it's like the director starts with something interesting, but then just goes completely haywire and it's totally indulgent. I felt in a way the movie was kind of juvenile. Like it just kept on trying to shock you with this gratuitous violence and sex and drugs. It was also, I thought, pretty clearly trying to channel the great masters of the body genre, like Pier Paolo Pasolini, my third prop here. The scene when Skarsgard's on the choke collar, and then you got like sort of a little bit of a Clockwork Orange theme, a little bit with this idea of like rehabilitating people in a weird way. It just does. It never works. It doesn't strike anything interesting. If the movie is some sort of commentary on rich people, I mean, Todd says we've had a lot of movies about doppelgangers lately. Well, we've also had a lot of movies that think they're great because they're saying rich people suck. Ruben Östlund got an Oscar nomination for saying it. So I don't think this movie is saying anything that radical. It's Skarsgård is really good in the movie, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of doing crazy shit. There's a scene where there is blood wiped over a woman's breast, and we're just kind of watching it like, okay, bro, do your thing. I didn't care for this movie very much. It wasn't boring though, so I am giving it 2 stars. I didn't fall asleep during it. It ended when it needed to end. It wasn't 2.5 hours. And if we're living in 2023 and I'm giving movie a half star up because it's not 2.5 hours, I guess that's saying something about the world we live in. But it's not really my thing. Brandon Cronenberg is not David Cronenberg. I did get some Crash vibes from this movie, but not in a good way.
Yeah, I think Todd and I think watched this at almost the exact same time Friday night, because as the credits were rolling, Todd texted me that he thought this was going to be an interesting conversation, and my response back, I think, was my favorite take, which was, yeah, when you have a grown ass man nursing off of some woman's tit covered in blood, and your only response is, yeah, that tracks. This movie is out there.
Pulled a Barbarian on us.
It did. I agree with one of you, and I'm gonna agree with Todd in just that it's, but I think we're actually not that far apart, the three of us, because I feel like we're all kind of in the same place where when it was done, we were like, what the hell did we just watch? And it's just that Todd and I kind of admire that little bit of what we just watched, and Zach didn't. I don't know. It had me entertained. The camera movement of the rotating around at the beginning, it almost had this hypnotic sense to it. It's like, okay, you're like locked in. I don't know. It was entertaining. It was weird, but I kind of liked the weirdness. I don't know. I'm going 3 stars out of, basically, I don't know what to do with it, but the fact that it still
You've
is
never seen anything quite like it. That's what
yeah, the fact that it still is intriguing me in some way 2 days later, I'm at that respect. So, and also I did see that at the premiere, Brandon Cronenberg brought Alexander Skarsgård to the premiere in a dog collar and leash. So
nice.
That tracks.
beautiful.
That tracks.
When's the last time someone got a hand job in a collar and a leash? I mean, Todd's comment makes me rethink. I got to rethink this whole thing right here, in the words of Robert De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook. But no, I agree with you, Terry. I actually don't really disagree with a lot of what you guys are saying. Maybe it's just the mood. Maybe it's just, your expectations for the movie. I think my expectations were a little shot because I think this movie has a clever and interesting premise. So first 45 minutes, I'm kind of in on this movie. I would have probably given it 3 stars. It just goes too batshit crazy at the end. I wanted a little bit more control and a little bit more like commentary about human nature instead of crazy blood spurting and epileptic seizures and, the excess. I didn't want the excess. I wanted it to be a little more pointed.
Yeah, if you're looking for control,
Well, I mean,
this
the body
is not
horror
the movie.
Well, the body horror stuff is totally classic David Cronenberg, though. And
Sure.
I told Adam, he's gonna love this movie. I told him it reminded me a lot of the Neon Demon, and at certain points, and that's why I think Nicholas Winding Refn is the perfect comparison for what this movie is going for. And I think it works. I think Cronenberg is a really interesting visual director, and I've seen 2 of his movies. I really like both of them. So I can't think that Zach would like Possessor now, though. Now Now that he didn't like this one.
Probably not, although I like David Cronenberg's Daddy Cronenberg's movie more last year, Crimes of the Future, which I thought was actually a lot more edgy than this movie. I guess what I would say too is I just think like the movie thinks it's really. I think the movie thinks it's smart. I think the movie's a little smug. It assumes, oh, this is a commentary on wealthy and privileged people in the world, and it's just if that's true, that's a dumb commentary. I don't think it has anything that interesting to say about it. I would have liked a lot. Again, a different director. Actually, Winding Refn, the Neon Demon has a little more subtlety than this movie. It's not a bad comparison, but I would have maybe Winding Refn is a better director for this kind of material.
All right, so Todd and I are at 3 stars. Zach's at 2 stars. I think at the least it's intriguing. It's going to keep your attention for the full runtime of almost 2 hours. It's in theaters now. Check it out if any of this sounds interesting. If you don't like gross out anything, don't go see this movie because, yeah, it's out there, man. It's out there.